Good evening, obsessors, oppressors, and possessors. It is I, your humble, handsome, and quite honestly, eating dinner host, Alec McCann. And with me, as always,
Julia.
And she is also eating dinner. She will be...
I've been slaving for hours. I have flour all over me. I made pie.
I made the pie.
You didn't. I made the crust and everything. I even grew the sweet potatoes.
But if you see us take bites,
that's why. Just
have dinner with us. We're having kielbasa, green beans, and potatoes with some cabbage that she's made. Make yourself some. Have dinner with us.
Exactly the same.
It has to be exact. That's what I was intimating. You have to have what we're having. Otherwise, we're not having dinner together. Yeah. We're having dinner.
Doesn't count.
Face to face with each other. It's just not the same. You know, it's just not the same. But before we move on, I would like to address the video that we put in the beginning of this episode. Jules?
Why you gotta whip at me like that? So, first, Ryan went into the garage. He was putting the fishing hook on. And then he came out. He never said anything. I went in the garage to get a drink out of my dad's awesome new refrigerator.
I don't know where he got it.
And when I was in there, I heard the knocking. And I came back out, and Ryan saw me, like, looking back at the garage. And he said, "What?" And I said, "Something is knocking upstairs." And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's just Alec." And I said, "No, he's at work." And so he immediately dropped his fishing pole and was like, "Let's investigate." But he said, "Let's instigate." He had the word a little bit wrong, but same thing, basically.
And when you got up there and it stopped, you said when you left the area, it started again?
Mm-hmm. But it sounded like it was coming from the back side of the garage instead of...
that corner again.
That corner, yeah. So it had moved, but it was still knocking.
All right, so let's go over what's been going on at our house now, because we have the door opening. If you remember the episode where we told you guys about our closet door opening by itself, we also had the pictures fly off the wall and land in front of our door. The biggest one for me was our very first Halloween Conjuring episode. I was in the basement, I was in the garage, in the top part of the garage, where I wanted to have our studio. And as I'm setting up for
quickly decided against.
Yes. As I was setting up for the live Facebook thing, a board slid, hit the wall. Freaked me out, called her, made her get off the pot to come get me because I was scared. And now, knocking. It's a fun to not to mention the smell of death that may or may not be paranormal out in our driveway.
That is, but it's gross.
It is gross. But it's in our driveway, so. Woo! But Julia has not only provided us with some awesome ghost video, but also... Oh, it should also be mentioned that there's only one fridge, or two fridges plugged in downstairs, and they wouldn't be knocking on the side that was being knocked on. Yeah. Now, Julia has also provided us with an episode today.
Yay for me!
Julia is such a sweet young thing.
Yes, I am.
At 40. She's not 40.
My birthday is in less than a month.
I know, you'll be 41.
I will not.
Ow! Alright, so our first story comes from Icebox 253. And Icebox 253 said, "So, I used to rent a townhouse in the woods with my ex. Again, or not again, I guess you guys don't realize that we had to re-record part of this. It's called a townhouse, I guess, because of the style.
That would be so strange to just one of them just randomly in the woods.
Yep, just one little townhouse, but it's in the woods. So, yep, it's a woods house.
Well, cabin.
Mm-hmm. Cabin. Mm-hmm. That's some really chewy sausage right there.
Nuh-uh.
Well, it's just skin.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I chewed that for 5 minutes. Sorry, guys. One night I'm out on duty when she calls me at about 3 o'clock in the morning, absolutely hysterical, because she's a woman. I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody's broken into the house. I gotta race home. Help. But it seems the wooden baby gate at the bottom of our stairs had been launched up the stairs. In fact, it hit the ceiling, leaving a mark, and it landed in a mangled mess. The puppy, who thankfully was not thrown up the stairs,
Right.
was locked in a cage, which again, thankfully was not thrown up the stairs. But he knew that the dog couldn't have done it. All the doors and windows were locked from the inside. And then later that month in the kitchen, they were having a chat in front, and in front of their very eyes, he says, this big heavy feeder that we used for the cat was on the countertop because I had just cleaned. It rotated 90 degrees upright onto its side and then gently another 90 so that it went upside down, and it barely made a tap as it landed, and the feeder was heavy. When I tried to recreate this, it made a very loud crash. More crazy things happened too. I would enter the kitchen and the silverware drawer would bang super loud, which just means that they don't like the way you've, rearranged their kitchen.
Yeah, right.
The silverware doesn't go there. Ugh. And when are you guys going to start paying me rent? You're using all my water and I haven't had a shower in years.
How rude.
I'm quite dirty. I've been in the ground for at least 3.
Ew.
Well, I mean, it's dead. It's a ghost. So it's definitely still in the ground.
Oh.
All the animals stare at a corner of the room and back up slowly as if being intimidated. A deadbolt door would be wide open as soon as you turned your back to it. Oh, and the nightmares. You would not believe they were scary.
Ooh.
But he doesn't tell you what they are.
Mine too. Because I read some creepy books.
And then say, "Oh no, it's not the book. My dreams didn't have anything to do with the book."
Once, quick story, when I went to one of my doctor's appointments, he asked me if I'd been sleeping okay. And I was like, I have a lot of really bad dreams. Meanwhile, that 25 days torture Advent book I was reading about the people who got stuck in the mountain because of the snow and somebody basically ripped them all apart. He said, "Is that what you read?" I said, "Yes." And he just was like, "Okay, your sleep is fine."
Well, there you go.
You do it to yourself.
You do it to yourself. I love this name. Our next story comes from an imaginary medium. I love that. Her name's imaginary. I don't know that she's it might be. So imaginary medium says, years ago, my husband and I were trying to see if we could get a modest house by contract for deed. I don't know what that means. Wait, we said that at the same time. One of us had an accent.
Me. I can't help it.
We took my sister along to look at the house. It still had someone's personal effects in it, as though they had just stepped out, but it was for sale. We walked through it and we're hopeful, Suddenly, my sister said, "Wait! I know whose house this was. This house belonged to that guy my son knew who died in this kitchen. This was Tony's house." And that just smacks of, I know who you are.
Right.
You know who I am. I'm your father's roommate's cousin's friend.
Right.
Or whatever it is in Spaceballs. I can't believe they're doing a second one. Just keep it at the first one.
Yeah.
Having sequels to parodies is just silly. It's just silly. Scary Movie should have stopped at Scary Movie. Don't get me wrong. I think the other ones,
funny.
they're funny, but at the same time, I don't need them.
I
Now-
still want the shirt of the little strong hand that says, "I'm just here for the mashed potatoes."
There you go,
My
guys.
birthday's coming.
Her birthday is coming, 40-01 and 40. Now, our next story is from Trump. Or I'm sorry, the
What?
orange. Sorry, the orange diamond.
Oh,
Yep.
I get it now.
Now, when I was in college, I lived in these really old dorms. Like, hadn't been renovated in over 70 years, and the thermostat looked like the first very version of one. Kind of old. We each had our own key card to this place, which is important to know for later. The doors automatically they locked. It's hard to see the screen sometimes.
I know,
Let me
it
just
is.
see if I can I widen this? Is that not something I can do with this? Oh, look at that. Locked behind you the minute they shut. The bedroom is designated, even with it being big, I can't hardly see. The bedroom is designed in that cabinets line close to the ceiling of each bedroom. There's also a mirror and a dresser space. Anyways, winter break came around and I decided to stay back while both of my roommates went home, which means I could do all the drugs I wanted alone. No one's asking me for them, all right? I'm going to trip out on a Christmas tree. He did say it was Christmas, right?
I think so.
Winter break, same thing.
Yeah, that's Christmas.
Now, it was just me and my dog for the next week. You're allowed to have a dog in dorms? Somebody was doing something they shouldn't have been.
Maybe it was an ESA,
What's that?
emotional support animal.
Oh. Okay.
Or
You looked at me like I was dumb. Or they just snuck it in. I mean, I've heard of plenty of people doing that too.
that's true.
Now the doors, we're playing the concert because it's 70s. No, I'm joking. It was just me and my dog for the next week or so. Both of my roommates went home to other states, so I knew there was no way they'd be home at any point earlier than what they said they would be. And they best not. They best not. They
He had
better.
plans.
He had
He or she.
plans. Whoever they are, they had plans. They had plans. Drugs, probably some lonely stroking, whatever that. Well, I mean, you're not bringing somebody back to your dorm when it's been 70 years since it's been touched up and the thermostat is a stick that you have to push up.
I like how you only ate your sausage.
I haven't even. Well, it was the quickest thing to chew because you were telling stories, and that's when I was taking my time to grab on. If you want to take your hand a couple of these stories, give me the time to chew on something. I ain't against it. I'd like to eat. She never feeds me. She never lets me. She always says, "Oh, I'm gonna make dinner beer while we do this."
This is the first time I have made dinner in a long time.
See?
It's called depression.
Your dad's mowing. I hope he does it right. I'd hate to have to tell him. A couple of days of into me being alone, I was taking a shower with the bathroom door open. Okay.
To me, that's not weird.
Even when I'm home alone, like if I was to take a shower and you guys were like for some reason not here,
It does keep the heat in.
I would, it keeps the heat in. I need that heat. I need that because as soon as I step out of the shower, it's always the air is cold because my body is wet.
Yeah.
And my body retains water on its skin because it's got this hairiness to it and it won't ever dry. Yep. So I kind of shrugged it off. Oh, wait, he shrugged off the door being open. I heard what sounded like a door slam in our dorm room. Peeked my head out of the curtain and called out a hello and called my roommates' names, but no one answered. Kind of shrugged it off, A couple of nights later, I was getting ready for bed when again I heard a slam from one of my roommates' rooms. How big is this dorm that they have
Right?
rooms? Is it just a house?
It sounds like that.
It's
like a...
because you could bring a woman to a house.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's got to be a house of some sort.
Maybe it's like a frat house, kind of.
That's what I'm thinking. So I froze and my dog froze as well. Well, actually, he started going ballistic. I didn't have the scroller on the right position, so I just guessed what the dog did. But he went ballistic, she went ballistic and hid under the blanket, or under the bed. Mind you, my dog never hid before, and she weighs over 60 pounds.
That's a big girl.
That's a Zoe. I called out again and even texted my roommate to ask if she had come home. It's a chick. Then she is not lonely stroking.
She might be.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. But she said she hadn't. Her bedroom door was locked, so I couldn't get in there, which I thought was weird for her to say. I wasn't trying to break into her room. I was just asking if she was home. But either way, I assumed it must have been the housing maintenance doing something somewhere in the building. But then that says something like that.
I know. I don't know.
Oh, how does a dorm room have rooms? That doesn't make sense.
No idea.
Now, I kind of forgot about the situation until a week later. My roommate came into my room pale-faced. She asked if I had been in her room, and I said there was no way, and asked why. And she told me to come look.
Come see.
Come see. Now, my roommate had fairy lights strung up in her room that she never turned off, which was the slam I must have heard that night. What? Oh my goodness with the sentences.
I know. Some of them are awful.
They had been cut both in the middle and were hanging. Hanging. The 2 cabinet doors had fallen off, which was the slam that I heard that night. They laid on the floor, but the weirdest part was that they were stacked one on top of the other and not underneath the cabinet that was missing them, but to the right of it. It was honestly the most bizarre thing I had ever seen. We asked housing if anyone had been in our apartment during that time frame, and they said no. But ever since that point, I had other weird experiences in that dorm from time to time. My dog got spooked every now and then, and after that incident during winter break, I was happy to leave when the time came. I bet you were, girl.
I would be too.
All right, now this next one.
I like their name.
Oh, man. I thought it was a Mario reference.
Maybe it is.
It's not
No?
because it's This Is Me username, not It's a me, Mario.
Nah.
Ring. I worked in a hotel that was built in 1885, so I have plenty of stories. But one that still gives me goosebumps would be the time I was vacuuming. I know that's how you spell it. I just like saying it like that. It had randomly stopped while I was halfway through the cleaning room. When I was halfway through cleaning the room. I thought the plug had fallen out of the socket, so I went to plug it back in, but it was already plugged in. So I checked the vacuum itself, and it was switched off right there. But it had been right behind me. What? It was switched off there, but it had been right behind me the whole time. What?
Like she's saying it was there, but someone had turned the vacuum off.
What was there?
The vacuum.
The vacuum was there.
Right with her, so she knows someone didn't come and turn it off. But
Okay.
it was turned off.
Maybe I'm just not getting the
You're
visuals
not.
here. That's all right. So I switched it back on, thinking that I must have bumped the switch with the hose, but after a few seconds, it turned back off. I went back and forth fighting with whatever spirit was there to keep it on, but after 3 or 4 times, I gave up and just left the room. And went on to the next one where it worked fine and continued to work well for the remainder of the cleans. Whoever was in there obviously thought it was a funny joke, as I never felt afraid in there. And for anyone wondering, I did manage to make it back there and finish cleaning before more guests arrived.
That's
No
good.
one was asking. Sorry, it's a me. Or This Is Me username. No one was asking. In fact, the entire time I was telling your story, I was actually picturing that game that the Impractical Jokers play where it's hide and seek, but they have all that random
yeah.
stuff all over and I was thinking, that would be fun. This would be a fun story if she just jumped in something and was like, you can't find me, ghost. This next story comes from Melodic Quality. A couple of years ago, I was 23 at the time, so it's been a while. I was still living with my parents. I was upstairs in my bedroom, hanging out in my room and watching TV. I was on the phone with my friends at that time, and I was on the phone, or while I was on the phone, I exited my room and went downstairs to have a cigarette. The only other person in my parents' house that day was my dad, who later I found out was asleep in his room on the main level, because these people apparently don't just have dinner together or nothing.
Right?
They're just like, let's be in our rooms.
A big enough house that they don't know if somebody is home or not.
Right? Oh, can you imagine how wonderful it would be if we didn't know the children were home?
Well, Ryan, we don't ever know because he doesn't.
He doesn't make noise.
He doesn't tell us. He just.
The only
out.
time we know he's home is if he's banging on his desk. Somebody killed him in Rainbow Siege 6.
Or pestering
Yes.
one of the other children.
He's got a new thing where at night he'll sit on the arm of our couch and then flip backwards so that his feet will kick his brother as he goes backwards. Like
And
as
he
he
loves
bends.
it.
He thinks it's great. Now, I was gone for about 7 minutes, and I walked back upstairs and entered my bedroom. I was still on the phone at the time, and I walked towards... Why are you talking so long on the phone? Are you a psychopath?
You do. It's only been 7 minutes.
No. He was gone for 7 minutes, but he was talking before he went out.
Oh.
Yeah. And I don't talk that long on the phone unless it's Will or Josh. Everybody else gets a curt 2 to 5. Unless it's you, but I talk to you at home too. You know?
No one even gets a 2 to 5 from me.
You don't answer the phone.
It's done ringing and then
What do you want?
Did you call me?
What do you want?
What's up? I tried to answer.
It wouldn't let me. So, I walked towards my bed and sat down, but eventually I glanced up to play my TV, and there at the end of my bed was a piece of paper sticking up from the base. I just remember not understanding what I was seeing. Never in my life have I so quickly dropped dead silent because a piece of paper was sticking out of my bed. Because that's impossible? You don't have paper in your house?
Also weird.
Seriously, why are you so upset by paper being on the end of your bed?
Because it wasn't there when he went outside.
That he knows. I'm just saying that he knows. It could have been there. You know how many times I've been like, oh, look at that. It's right there.
The fairies.
So I say drop dead silent in a way to try and explain what it feels like when you're coming to terms with something in your brain that isn't fully ready or capable of understanding. I just remember going, Nate? And he kept saying, what? And I could hardly speak. I quickly said, I'll call him back. And immediately took out my phone and took a picture of a piece of paper.
But was he not on the phone talking to his friend?
And he hung up. He just said he hung up.
And had to take it back out?
No, well, maybe it's just, I don't know. It's the word.
Maybe he was on a landline phone.
Maybe.
Some people do still have those.
A couple years ago, though, so maybe not. I don't know when this is. Anyway, I took a picture because I couldn't believe my eyes. I don't know how it got there, why it was placed there, why it looked the way it did. Old economic paper of mine talking about the government and the divide of our two-party system creates in America. Wow, way to get that political message in the story. Thank you, sir.
We needed that one.
I wrote this paper 3 years prior in a college class. There was a big yellow triangle that almost looked like it was highlighted on smack dab the middle of the page. It almost looked luminescent, or like a dollar bill does. I don't think my dollar bill glows in the dark, my friend. I don't think it's quite luminescent. I could be wrong. Quick, Jules, go grab one. Let's see. Oh, man. Now, and it was ripped from the other page, or the paper that had, the paper had to have been in my closet, stacked away with all my other schoolwork, and it was ripped from the other page and placed at the end of my bed, sticking upright for me to see. I was gone for only about 7 minutes, as we've said a couple of times. Shortly after that bizarre situation occurred, I dodged the heck out of my parents' house and went to a hotel with a friend of mine. Friend by the hour. The second part of the story is just as scary, but I don't even want to get into that right now because you got to write it up.
I looked so hard
For a second part?
second part, and I could not find it. They even had one post that said something about they were replying to these while they were at work, and when they got home, they would put up the second part of the story, and it never was.
What's up, Jacob?
Yes, they're on the counter too.
When are we going fishing?
6 o'clock. That's our child. If you are new to the show, hey Jacob, come here.
Here comes the
Come
other
here.
one.
Come here. This is Jacob. Ryan, come here. And this is our son Ryan. There we go. You guys are now on our YouTube channel.
Yay!
Yay.
They're so happy.
If you're new to the channel, we do typically have our children. They will interrupt us and ask us questions. Sometimes we're patient about it. Sometimes we're not. We're parents. Don't judge us. I've never thrown a battery at them, so there's that.
You better get your food.
What's wrong? You don't want to eat?
All right.
All right, don't eat then. Starve, little cotton-headed ninny muggins. He doesn't like us. He's becoming a teenager. Now, this next one is Beat Us, Mermaid. My parents, I don't know, it says Beat Us, Mermaid. Beat us,
Beat us.
not feed us. Goodness gracious, Jacob. Jacob, no more talking. There's that patience I was talking about. Now, my parents told me, doesn't it look like I have wings? Or like duck wings?
Ew, it does.
I'm flying.
Don't touch me. You're giving me cold chills with your arm hands.
That's because you love me. You think I'm beautiful. Now, my parents told me that someone had died in our house before we moved in. It's nice of them. Apparently, they were very old and passed away in their room. There were several weird instances where I was spooked in the middle of the night. Or I would get creepy feelings like I wasn't alone. The freakiest thing that happened to me still creeps me out. Our family dog used to sleep with me sometimes, and she would hop up on my bed during the night. One night, I was already kind of half asleep when I felt pressure on the mattress at the end of my bed near my feet. No! No! Curl them! Curl them!
Curl them tall.
Curl them feet!
No, it's curl them.
Oh. No, it's
Balls.
curl the feet, son, because it's part of our catchphrase. You pour your juice and go do what you're doing. Goodness. Now, no, without the singing. We're recording an episode, and you're not supposed to actually be trying to make noise. That's not something I'll let slide. Now, so I felt the pressure, and it felt exactly like my dog had just laid. So rationally, I thought it might be my dog making herself comfortable because she wanted to sleep with me that night. My heart practically stopped when I sat up to give her a little pet and discovered there was nothing there.
There was no puppy.
Now, where is the dog?
I don't know.
That's the question. Where's the dog? What did you do with him? Where's the dog? I'm Batman. Now, this next one, Yondir Matrix. I'm fairly certain, if I'm remembering my Japanese terminology correctly, Yondir is an
Tractor.
No, it's... It is not a tractor. It is, however, a obsessive person. Like, you're mine, and you'll always be mine because I'm going to wear you as my birthday suit.
Ew.
Oh, I licked her face and it was good. She
That is
tastes
fun.
like sugar.
wrapped up in bacon.
I know, I loved it. Now, I decided to take a nighttime stroll sometime between 12 and 1 a.m. because I
That's
don't
crazy.
worry about, I don't worry about muggers or anything like that. I left my apartment and walked around the road that led to the woods nearby and contemplated on whether to follow the road that led through the woods. And I decided against it, as I wasn't stupid and it was pitch black with zero lights and only able to see a few feet in front of you. I'm going to applaud this person. That was smart thinking. I bet you would be the second to last person to die in a horror film.
Right.
You know?
I'd be the first.
Especially if it was Cujo.
I would.
That'd be her. That would be her death.
Puppy.
So I decided to head back home. I barely walked 15 feet from the woods, and I heard footsteps directly behind me. I turned and seen no one. I turned and seen no one. And it continued every time I started walking back. Problem was, there was only 2 to 3 feet at most away. The sound. I used to watch those haunted house reenactments, so...
That was a good accent.
I know. Hearing me say reenactments was something I said. So what I got from those was that ghosts react to fear. So if it were some spirit, I shouldn't act scared. So instead I laughed when I heard the steps again. This time it seemed to stop. I got home, went to bed, and at night time I was woken abruptly about an hour later to a guy saying, "Psst." I looked around and no one was there, so I said out loud, "Not right now, I'm trying to sleep," and went back to bed. This is if it was just the second thing I could explain it off, but they happened the same night, so it felt like they were connected. It was a one-off, as it never happened again. Otherwise, I would have went to check it out and come back with a bloody stump.
Ew.
Our next story is Imaginary Recipe 9967. So we do have a small theme. It's imaginary. Although I was a bit disappointed that imaginary medium didn't say she talked to ghosts.
I know.
It's just my husband and my husband this. We don't care about your husband. Tell us about your ghost. Tell us about how he died in their bed. Now,
That's crazy.
I have always thought it was a bit closed-minded to assume that there were no such things as ghosts or stuff of that nature. Just because I didn't, just because I didn't have any personal experiences didn't mean they didn't exist. Now, science discovers new things every day, and then I did have an unexplainable experience. I was 10 years old, and my dad, what?
They make it sound like it happened so late in their life.
I know.
But I was 10. I was just 10.
I was just 10, and my dad, mom, and younger brother, and I were visiting family in Virginia for Thanksgiving. It was a full house with cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents taking up every available space, so my family had to sleep in the inn. I know where this story's going. No, I'm joking. They had to sleep downstairs in the semi-finished basement. My brother and I got cots, and my parents had pull-out sofa bed. The basement had 2 double doors that led into the backyard. My uncle stated that they always kept the lights on outside, but he would turn it off for us so we could sleep. So it's the middle of the night, and I'm laying in the cot, sleeping when I heard a whisper that sounded like somebody say my name. Now, I was awake, but my eyes were closed.
That's me all the time.
That's sleep. That is sleep, my friend. You are not awake. You just think you is. I can't tell you how many... Look, we were watching that movie last night.
I watched all of it.
I know, but I said, are you going to sleep? And you said, I don't know. And I was like, why don't... What's up? Yeah, go get you some more. Did you like your food? You like... He likes the sausage. That's... Now, I opened my eyes into slits. Cause it what? Oh, I skipped past what I needed. Sorry, we didn't open our eyes. What are you laughing at? You thought I said sluts.
Oh,
You said
just the way you said it.
so. I heard footsteps start coming directly. It didn't sound like my family. It was gruff, growly. Someone said my name, but I heard footsteps start from directly next to my cot, proceed to pace around the room, open my eyes into slits, and could make out my brother sound asleep next to me. Anger started to overtake the fear as I thought my cousins were pulling a prank. What? You like anger?
He's got some anger issues.
He's only angry once. Now, I thought maybe they were pulling a prank, so I opened my eyes wide. First thing I noticed was the light outside was on. But then I saw an enormous shadow standing just outside the 2 glass doors staring in. Oh, no, that is
Right?
creepy.
No, thank you.
That is creepy. That reminds me of the haunting in Connecticut.
Ew, yeah.
With the autopsy room. So, the thing had to have been at least 8 feet tall, and as I'm staring at this thing, it very slowly materializes through the glass door without sliding them open, and now it's within inches of my parents' heads. I couldn't see its face, but I instinctively knew it was staring directly at me. It raised its arms like it was going to attack mode. I opened my mouth to scream, but nothing came out, so I just threw the covers up over my head and said, "Oh, please do something with Fred." I've never actually been able to. Every time they throw a cover up over their head, I gotta say, "Please do something with Fred." Why do you guys? Well, she's a child. Never mind. She's a child. She's 10.
I'm being clawed.
Well, so I threw the covers up over my head and recited the Lord's Prayer over and over. I had never been so scared in all my life. I literally thought I was going to die, that this thing, whatever it was going to jump on me and kill me. And then, after all that, I somehow fell asleep. I have no idea how I wake up in the next morning. Oh, wait, she means she has no idea how she fell asleep. Okay, I got you. I wake up the next morning and I immediately tell my dad what happened. And he just kind of laughed at me and said, "I was laying right there. Why didn't you wake me up?" Which was a good question in retrospect. It was just, I was just so scared. Anyway, she was scared. She was scared, Jules. She was scared. Scared. Scared!
So this looks like...
This is the last,
Oh,
this is
okay.
the last story. This is the one I did.
I was going to say, it looks like at the top a child may have messed with something.
No. This last story is written by Avery.
Look at this screen.
I don't need. Oh!
Being attacked.
Max. This is Max, our golden child puppy. Max, say hi.
Look.
Look, Max. Look at the people. Look at the people, Max. Look. Woo. Woo.
He's like, I don't think I will. I'm scared.
Ooh, I don't have anything. I lied. Ha 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 ha. Max, you so dumb.
Now he's just licking my plate.
He's just licking plates now. All right, so this is written by Avery M88. It's written 12 years ago. When I was in high school living in Seattle, ghost hunting, visiting abandoned places was a frequent activity for us. There's a place north of Seattle called 13 Steps to Hell.
Ew.
The story is that a satanic family once lived there in a house where they had a cemetery deep in their backyard. These... Zoe Elizabeth. Max, get down! Dogs. So these stones dated back to at least 100 years. The family built 13 steps into the cemetery with 2 giant pointed pillars at the top. Now supposedly each step down would give you a hallucination.
Ew.
You would hear things, feel things, and on the final step you were
Got
supposed...
pushed.
No, you were supposed to see fire or hell. Now the steps continued to be bulldozed because the current residents surrounding the area probably don't appreciate late night visitors, but the steps always seem to reappear. I've seen them. Our first journey, it took us nearly 4 hours driving and walking to find it. There are no clear directions anywhere online, at least at the time there weren't. We accidentally stumbled upon a path just as we were about to give up, and it's about a mile hike deep into the woods. Along an overgrown trail, you have a lot of barriers to duck under and over, and there are some random things everywhere, such as crashed cars in the middle of the woods, abandoned items. But after 30 minutes hiking in the creepy darkness of this overgrown forest, we were going to head back when my friend pointed and said, "Look where you are standing." And I looked down, and I was unknowingly standing between the pillars and on the first step down to the cemetery. At that point, I was not going to walk down the steps, but I did explore the cemetery. How'd you get into the cemetery? Did you go around?
I don't know.
That's weird. So my friends explored further down and started yelling and screaming. They told us stop scaring them, even though we were about 200 feet from them. We left promptly after they ran up and insisted that we leave. Never talked about it again. I went back 5 times after with my friends who had heard, and I was the only one who knew. I went back 5 times after with friends who had heard, and I was the only one who knew how to get there, so I gladly took them. Okay, so she's taking people. Okay, I gotcha. Nothing.
But not going herself.
I don't know. Nothing creepy happened on these trips. But 1 year later, some friends asked me to take them. We went at midnight and went there, looked around the cemetery, nothing out of the ordinary. I went down to the cemetery and rubbed one gravestone so I could read it. You don't touch gravestones.
Right?
That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea.
Unless you're like cleaning it up.
I don't
for
think
somebody.
I'll flower the grave, but I will power wash the stone. I ain't touching the stone. That's it. But he said some satanic symbol. That's the sentence. Some satanic symbol. We were standing in a circle debating on how much longer we would stay when all of a sudden a 3-foot log comes flying at us and lands in the middle of the circle.
Ew.
We all look around and notice that no one from the group is missing, so it wasn't any of our friends. 30 seconds later, all of this crap is flying at us. Just rocks, branches, anything. I look at them and say, "Run!" And we start running through the overgrown trail, jumping over rocks, stopping the timer, jumping over rocks, logs, all this stuff. I've never ran so fast in my life. At one point, my friend looks back and sees 2 giant yellow eyes staring after us.
Ew.
And we all heard the growling noises running after us. Ducking under fallen trees, running through sticker bushes, and falling several times. We run to the car, get in, and drive away as fast as possible. As fast as possible. None of us said a word to each other for at least an hour. And I've never been back since.
I don't believe I would have gone back the second time.
Definitely not. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our episode. I hope it thrilled you a little, chilled you a little, made you feel a little giddy, happy to know that we have activity, and I hope you're liking the setup, the way we've done the cameras. We want it to feel like an old movie, and I think we're really doing well on it. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and remember, you can check us out on Spotify if you don't want to watch the video, and you can also send us emails of your own ghost stories if you want your ghost stories to be mentioned or read on our show and you've experienced anything. Send it into ghostedinwv@gmail.com and we will let you know that we've gotten it, and we'll let you know when your story will appear on the episode. Thank you, and remember, curl up your feet because Salted Garlic is looking for them toes, man. She is going to eat those toes. She's only worried about the piggies today. Only the piggies that went to the market. So them big toes are going to have a problem. And remember, bye!
Bye! Bye.